Hi, yeah, guys. This is Joey. We're going to be talking about the opening day match of the 2023 Cricket World Cup with New Zealand against England. And one of the biggest takeaways was the crowd or lack thereof. And this is the crowd that the audience, the TV audience, saw during the day. And it looks pretty pathetic. And if you look at just the straight numbers, it's not so pathetic. But there were a lot of issues that I want to get into about what happened with this crowd size. And so the match took place in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, right there, in Narendra Modi Stadium, which hosts up to 132,000 spectators, which is just a massive amount. It used to be a lot less in the 80s and 90s, from what I understand, but that is the maximum amount and big sizes for cricket fans. I understand that it's important, but um, this is the stadium when it's when there's no match taking place or they're just practicing. You could see how big it is here, and out of the 132,000 seats that were available, they only sold 45,000 tickets, which is less than half. And you can see that in this picture here, even though there are a lot of people, it's just not going to be able to fill up that stadium when you have everyone spread out. And I know in certain venues, like in wrestling, WWE wrestling shows, they'll paper off, half of the stadium just so it looks more crowded for the TV audience. And I think they should have thought of something like that because it looks really bad. What looked really good was the 2023 Rugby World Cup stadium. This is the opening match in France, France versus New Zealand, and you can see it's jam packed, shoulder to shoulder, full of French fans who want to see their home team play the first game. And here you can see another shot. It was, just I didn't go there in person, but watching it on TV, it looked absolutely packed and it looked like the stadium was swaying back and forth. And when you're watching on TV and you see such a good environment, it makes you more excited for the game. On the opposite end, when you see a sparse crowd, you're wondering, is this a warm-up game? Like, what's going on here? Here's another picture of New Zealand doing their haka against France, and yeah, it was a great match. A lot of that had to do with the opening of the World Cup in the home nation. The home nation playing one of the first games, and the fans, the really passionate fans there. This is opening day in, oh, I forgot to say, was a crowd of 78,000 total. So 78,000 total in Paris, France. And a similar, I'm going to include baseball here, opening day in the United States. The first baseball game of the 2023 season had a crowd of 45,000. And it just looks full of fans. It looks jam packed. It looks very patriotic. And it just, when you're watching from home, it looks really good. So there was a couple of issues, and one of the issues that I think is most important is not having India in the first match. There was no opening ceremony. There were issues with buying tickets, and maybe they have too big of stadiums. And I know there were issues buying tickets, which might have, make too big of stadiums not a big deal. But some of these articles shed some light here on what happened. It says television viewers were greeted by the sight of tens of thousands of empty seats as fans shunned the exposed lower tier of the world's second biggest sporting stadium on a baking hot October afternoon, and those with tickets elsewhere delayed their entry into the ground or decided to come only after the end of the working day. The crowd grew through the day while organizers refused to confirm a final attendance. Some 45,000 tickets had been sold, enough to make it the best attended opening game of any 50 over World Cup, a figure that still barely made a dent in the 132,000 capacity Narendra Modi Stadium. So this still, despite how pathetic it looked, it still was the biggest opening match of a ICC World Cup. But was it right to have it in the stadium? And you had the issue with people coming at different times. That's the issue with the longer World Cup, is that people are not going to watch the full match because it's 8 hours long. They said the organization of the World Cup has been criticized as chaotic, with the schedule finalized less than 2 months before the start of the tournament, and tickets only going on sale 6 weeks in advance. I mean, what's up with that? When England hosted the tournament in 2019, the final schedule was announced 13 months before it started, and tickets were sold out with more than 6 months to spare. And I think the sellouts have a lot to do with England not having as much space as India. So they say the decision to open the tournament with a fixture not involving the host nation was questioned, but organizers said there were strong reasons for doing so. It's like, I don't care what reasons you have. That is just totally unforgivable, in my opinion. So, what do you guys think? It looks really, coming from an American who's watching this, if you turn on the Cricket World Cup and you see such a paltry crowd, even though it's the biggest in all of history of ICC World Cup, it looks bad. And so we need to make it more like the Rugby World Cup, where it's just shoulder to shoulder, jam packed and really passionate fans. I think you should have had India in the first game, and you should have had a smaller stadium. Smaller doesn't mean worse, especially in this case. So, what do you guys think? Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you next time. Later.